Hello. So you might want to grab yourself something nice to drink, because we are going to have a chat and have an update on the cosmic weather, the energies at this very interesting, intense, clarifying, expanding, ascending time. Today we have the new moon in Cancer, the 17th of July 2023. And this new moon is asking you to make space and time to explore, to sit with, and to be present with your heart's desire. I really, really like the energy of this Cancer new moon. I feel that it's allowing us to see the reflections of what has completed, and it is inviting us to choose what dance we want to dance as we move through the next few months and years of our lives, pertaining to our emotional, heart-based relationships, and also having a very brave, honest look at how we express love, and looking at our attachment styles, looking at the ways that we invite love into our lives or not, how we receive love, and how we give love, and what that looks like for us. And it's a reevaluation because Venus is retrograding, and she's having a very long retrograde transit. So we are getting to review past love lives, past relationships, and we're also deciding if some relationships are no longer of value to us, and if they are not compatible or they're not working out, or perhaps we have some deep spiritual needs that are not being met, and so it's time for us to move forward into this new cycle, which begins on the 17th today. It is a shift, and I spoke in my last two videos about this switch energy. The angels were showing me, they were like jumping on one foot to the other, switch, and they were saying, you know, we gotta hop, we gotta move, we gotta dance, we gotta switch. This is a very dynamic time. So there's so much going on beneath the surface of what people are presenting to you. So having extra kindness, compassion, and patience is something I'm always sharing and talking about. I don't think there's enough gentleness in the world. I think people underestimate the power of gentleness and vulnerability. It's something I was always aware of even as a child. I remember writing a little book as a child, a diary. And I remember one of the first few things I wrote about was innocence and vulnerability, and that they were powers. They were God's power. They were sent from source, and that we are born of innocence, and we're born from this very vulnerable, fragile, and yet powerful, fully supported standpoint. You think of the child being pushed out into the world, and yet there's all these people, midwives, shamans, doulas, mothers, grandmothers, partners, husbands, lovers, waiting to catch this brand new life coming in. It's this beautiful initiation. And that's what this time in our life is like. There has been this rebirth that began in May, and And even though the child is coming in from source into a new life, there's also the death of being with God, in God's pocket, as I like to call it. We are now entering a time where we're being asked to be more involved in our evolvement. So we are evolving, and that's happening whether we free will skip along with the process and swim with the tides, or whether we have to be dragged by the ponytail by nature kicking and screaming. It's so much better to go with the first option and to work with these energies. So whether you're deciding to end your marriage, perhaps you're deciding that a particular relationship, some matters of the heart, is just not fulfilling you anymore, or whether you are looking back over a divorce that happened 10 years ago that you never quite dealt with at the time because you just didn't have the energy or the space in your heart or your soul to look at that because life was just too grueling and you had to keep moving on. You're given this space now, and that's why I think this retrograde, the universes, the cosmic planets are deciding to give us a wide berth of time with this. That has to be because we're being asked to really slow down and re-examine, re-evaluate and reflect on our love lives, our marriage, our lover, our partnerships, and how we relate and how we express within and without those structures. And those of you who are familiar with my work, I am a channel, so I'm a source, what's called a source channel. So I am connected to the nameless ones, which is the angels, because the angels are an energy, they're thought forms from God. And many of you know I often experience what's coming on a mass consciousness level for humanity a week or two before other people. And the reason psychics or channels pick up on things in advance is so that we can give you tips and we can give you direction and guidance which will prepare you for what is coming towards you. And by having experienced it and downloaded and felt the emotions of it, we can then give you a heads up, right? So what I can tell you, and I experienced this on a very profound level in the last few days for the next 2 weeks, is some of you will feel a deep exhaustion with the energies coming up in the next few days, but see it as a golden opportunity to be present, to drop the heavy burdens, say no to extra time in work, in a work role. So if your work is very demanding, if you feel that you're being asked to take on extra shifts or extra, say no to extra. This is not a week for extra, okay? We have some homework to do, and that homework will be in a sedentary or lying down position of meditation, of deep reflection, and honestly feeling the feels of the well of your soul. So I had this powerful moment on Friday where I was so overworked and realized that no was a word I had not been using enough. Please express the word no in the next, for this week. from the full moon onwards for the next even 5-6 days, okay? Thursday is going to be a particularly sticky day for some people. It's going to be sticky and tricky. And I said this in my July energy update videos to give you plenty of scope, because what happens is when I get these downloads, they're often predicting what's ahead. And when people watch the videos, they can't relate at the time. But if you go back and look at it, you will see that the angels are always right on point, so accurate. It's something I do, because when I'm channeling in the videos, I'm not mentally attached to the message. I'm just channeling the information as it's flowing. It's coming in blocks of thought and I'm expressing it out to you. So I'll often go back and go, oh, okay, I had no clue what that was about at the time when I shot the video. But as the weeks of the month went by, it all clicked into place and made sense. So this week, you might find people are extremely chattier than usual. Okay? Trust me on this. You might find that people want to stop you at the bus stop, in the grocery store, you know, the taxi man, your neighbor who doesn't usually stop to chat suddenly stops you and shares their deepest desires and secrets and pains of their lives. There is a very chatty, communicative, expressive energy to this week, but some people are looking to unload and to vent. And then there's others who simply want to siphon your light because they're in an energetic vampire pattern of trauma and they need to unload this emotional information. Please mind your energy, especially this week. Mind your energy. I will actually, let's just be extra cautious and prepared, and let's say for the next 2 weeks, be particularly kind and gentle and cautious with your energy, because there is this quality where people will want to reach out, text, email more than usual, connect more than usual, talk more than usual. But the thing about, there's a difference in connection and talking, and I think this is where social media has a lot to blame. People oversharing. We've gone from being a very undersharing, overly protective of our deep emotional self, our emotional world type of 3D earth, into being this overly mental, too much connected to the ego, chitty chatty catty, and it's all hot air. There's actually not much connecting or deep feeling or soulful exchange happening. Now, I'm not talking about everybody, but you might notice this in your workspaces, you might notice this in your social circles. Sometimes there is this need to fill the silence with nothing of value, with it's like a mindless stream of unconsciousness that some people need to constantly engage in. And it's really damaging to highly sensitives, because that's where the non-sensitive person can abuse the highly sensitive, because they know that you're obliging, that you're giving of your time, your energy, your light. So protect your light, mind your energy, mind yourself. And it was actually lovely to get a message from the very, very sweet, kind, generous, loving and protective man in my life, and he sent me that message this morning, and I really appreciate that. I know he's watching, so hello. He said, mind your energy. And I thought, you know what? That must be the theme of of July, actually, I think, has been mind your energy. And learn to say no. And I was having some great interactions and exchanges with my dear friend Annie. So that's Blue Vibes here on YouTube. You should go check her out. Hi, Annie. And I was sharing how I had felt like no matter where I went, it was like I was being bombarded with people wanting to share and to connect with me, but it was all very one-sided. I love connecting with people, and I love having long, deep, meaningful conversations more than most. But this felt like, it felt like people could see my light and they just wanted to unburden themselves within that. But there was no exchange. It was very much about me holding a space for everybody else. And I mean, it was really dramatic, guys. I'm not just talking like, as a light worker, that's part of my job, and I love holding a space for people, and I do it with passion. But this is not that. This was something extra, that when I actually clocked up all the things that happened over last week, I realized there was something cosmically going on. So I checked in with my angels, and they said that there was a deep theme of acceptance. And I said this to my friend Blue Vibes. Don't worry, I'm not going to disclose anything between you and I, Annie. That's private, but I'm sure you know, we often talk about the cosmic weather, and I was asking, did you have the same experience? And she was saying that there was definitely, she did feel that, you know, there is this, there's an ending. It's like the world, I think of the world card in tarot, and I said that in the July previously a few weeks ago. It's like something has gone full circle. There's the cosmic egg, and the circle has complete. So I think because people are having to accept certain cycles, and we are ending a karmic cycle. We are ending an 18-month cycle. So people are feeling that, and it's like they suddenly have all this emotion to unload, and energy, and thoughts about what they're accepting and what they're ending and what they're completing. And I think those of us who are there to hold the space can be taken for granted. We can overgive our light, our time, and it's very important that we value that and keep that light and energy for ourselves. So for those of you who are really, really deep into your high sensitivity and empaths, those of you who are empaths, you know, the earth angels, the blue rays, indigos, crystals, you I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying, and please drop a comment, because it makes me feel less alone. And that's why Annie and I have these beautiful exchanges as well, because as a high sensitive, most people are not going to relate to your experience. They're not going to understand what it's like to feel drained by other people siphoning into your power and into your energy all the time, instead of actually learning to go and take responsibility for their own emotional baggage and their own stuff. So it is really important that you learn those exercises and techniques and meditation practices to clear your energy, so that you're not burdening yourself, going around being constantly open, constantly on, and being stimulated all the time by outside forces and outside energy that isn't even relevant or pertinent to your life experience. So that's what you're probably going to find this week, more than likely. But there is this gorgeous Cancer moon that could also bring up some deep emotions that you just did not even know were percolating, or simply didn't have time to sit with. Make time this week, because You can't afford, you're not being allowed in this new cycle, this new 5D energy, this new 5D timeline. You're not going to be able to bring what hasn't been digested and processed from the 3D or from your pre-COVID life. It's not going to fit through this window. This is a very refined window. It's a narrow window with this new moon. So all the junk and baggage and excess, it's not going to fit through. So like I said, this is not anything that's extra, that's unnecessary, that's unsophisticated energetically and frequency wise, will not be going with you. If you're watching this video, you are a 5D'er. You are a fifth dimensional, multi-dimensional being using your fifth dimensional new legs to walk and dance and move and express in this new timeline. So all that extra baggage, it's like when you go to the airport, you have to pack only the essentials because they have a weight limitation. This window is very sophisticated. It's only going to let in what matches its high frequency. So it's about refinement. It's about clarifying it down to your absolute heart's desire and what you need, what your heart needs now in your relationships. And it's also a time to be more. I found at the weekend I simply could not and should not have forced myself into doing my usual routine, going from finishing what was a very long, intense work week into domestic work, feeling like I needed to tick those boxes. It just wasn't feasible. My heart and soul was very clear that I needed to change and switch up. Back to that switching up message from the angels. Switch it up, break your routine, do something different. And instead of getting up and going for a run or bouncing on the trampoline or whatever, I just got up. I felt the tiredness, the fatigue, and I knew that it was my body's way of making sure I didn't just step into the old hat stuff. And I could feel the switch. I could feel the shift. And I sat down where I never sit. It's good to do things differently. If you want to change something. And I listened. The radio just happened to be on in the background. And it was exactly the person that was being interviewed on this radio program. It was like she was echoing messages from the divine for me. It was perfect. It was law of attraction in action. It was the angels blessing me with the right information at the right time. And it was comforting. And I feel that you're going to need comfort this week. This new moon is going to require you to want to be comfortable, to want to also make sure you're looking after your own needs and making the choices that honor you and that give you a sense of coziness, that soul cozy, heart fuzzy, warming feeling. That's what you want to create for yourself in practical terms as well as energetic and spiritual terms. It's a great time for downloads. It's a great time to claim new intentions, new ideas, new visions for the next 6 months in your life, because like I said, this is the ending of an 18-month karmic timeline. I think that's all I have to say. I think it's like a bittersweet energy right now. It's like I can feel the beauty in it today. There's a beauty to the energy. Place your energy into these cards. Speaking of energy, this is Ask Your Angels, or Angel Answers Oracle Cards by Radley Valentine. But there is this romantic, cozy, warm, fuzzy feeling with this Cancer moon. I mean, it's very emotional and sensitive and sweet. But, you know, with that high emotional sensitivity, it can be bittersweet, because with the highs come the lows. And with the focus on Venus retrograding, looking at your romantic history and your romantic past, looking at your lovers, looking at the memoir of your relationships, and really the relationships of our lives make up the bedrock of our lives. There could be sadness with that, you know. And didn't we have sadness? We had sadness come up on one of the cards in the last video, in the July card reading video, which was before this. So there can be an intensity to finally wrapping up those feelings and coming to terms with that 3D pattern, that 3D relationship that's no longer is part of your life. And what I meant to say to you was, I had this mad experience on the Friday where I came across something that triggered a lot of emotion, a lot of some trauma, pain, you know. And it happened very organically. It was just meant to be, and I just felt my heart open and allow myself to fully engage and be present and express the intensity of what I was feeling. And the loss, you know, it was a sense of loss, and it was a grief, it was grieving. And as I felt that big expression come out in sounds, and I think it's really important to allow those sounds out when you have those big, heavy, deep cries. Like, let the sound out. I think there's nothing worse than having to keep that quiet and trying to suppress that, because sound is frequency, it's vibration. If you think of the word vibration, it's sound, right? So you don't want that in your body, because that's trauma in your body. You want to get that out. But as I did that, in perfect timing with it, my nose just popped out blood, and I just had this tremendous nosebleed that went on and on and on. And I knew that my body was expressing the release of that trauma, of that deep pain. And I always just go with that stuff. I am fearless when it comes to, I know the power of feeling the feeling. I know how important it is. I know that it's better for me in this moment to go right deep down into the well of my soul and clean and cleanse and release this stuff, because I don't want to be carrying this for the next 10 years in my energy field. So I just let the, you know, and I just obviously just got tissue and just let it flow. And it was like a fog cleared, and there was just a sharper reality afterwards, and there was a resignation, a resolution, an acceptance. And feeling a step closer to this new life, feeling another layer shedding, like it was a shedding. So you might be feeling that over the next few days. You might be feeling with this moon that you're shedding some layers of emotions, of feelings that you've been carrying in your heart. So just let the energy clear, let the energy clear, let the energy release. Okay. I have to do these as well. Okay, well, first of all, you got trust. And that was what really got me through my life in the rockiness of the last 2 years or 3 years. I had to just trust that everything was taking me to where I need to be and where I'm supposed to be and where I'll be happiest. So if you can trust that, I think that's very, very powerful. Recovery. Got this last time as well. So this is some deep recovery going on. And that'll mean different things for different people. You know, perhaps your health is on the mend. Or perhaps you're in recovery from a divorce or a heartbreak, right? Within the next few months, that's your timeline. Within the next few months, so you'll get whatever you've been trying to manifest. And then compromise. So there's a balance scales there, okay? You need to get back into balance. And this week, the energies have the potential to highlight where you're out of balance or to knock you off balance. And look, like in Eat, Pray, Love, there's no harm in getting knocked off balance down again in life, because when we're fully living life, we can't keep the scales perfectly balanced all the time, right? But we can. This is for the viewer. Okay. We can manage that, and we can decide, right, I'm a little bit off kilter right now. And that's what I did at the weekend. I was like, I'm out of balance. I'm all work and no play. What do I need to do this weekend to feel better? And I did. I did those things. I tended to those things. And I allowed myself to receive. And I enjoyed connection and soulful being in life. And I just took all that extra stimulation away, kept the phone off, and minded my energy. And I feel fine. It only took a day or two. So that's really, really important message. By the end of this week, going into next week, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? Right. Sexuality. Ooh, very sexy. Sexy, sexy. And I suppose, you know, when we're in that being energy, when we're in that feeling, being, bring it back to basics. Sexuality is very much, you know, to express your sexuality in a healthy, nurturing way. And that reminds me, if there's a word for this week and for this new moon, it's nurturance, nurturing, nourishing. Those words are really important. I would say for the next week, nourishing, nurturing, and minding. Mind yourself. There's an old expression in Ireland that people say, you just need a mind. And what they mean by that is you need some care. You need self-care. You need to be minded, you know, like a little kid who's overtired. They're all played out, you know, and the little 2-year-old is cranky and crying, and the mother picks him up and says, come here, you need a mind. You need a rest. That's the energy of this week. How teachable are you? That's a really interesting one. How teachable are you? Because that's coming up as well. Take off your mask. I don't think you'll be able to wear a mask. No, in fact, you won't be able to wear a mask. It's 5D. It's not going to happen. Cycles. The end of an 18-month karmic cycle, going into a new cycle. How you start is often how you'll go. So start as you mean to go on, okay? Soulmate. Such a pretty card. 14s, that's number 5. Soulmate. And let me see what else I have here. And we'll wrap this up. Wow, I did not intend to share and talk that long, but I just really felt the need to come on here and connect with you. And I keep looking in the wrong place for the camera, sorry. There you are. just to say, look, I know what's ahead for you. That's part of my job as a channel. I know you might be feeling exasperated or overwhelmed or fatigued or just, again, overstimulated, you know. Definitely try and loosen your workload. Do not become a workhorse. Don't be a workhorse for anybody. This is something me and my friend Annie were talking about as well. It's like the more you take on the role of workhorse, the more work you get. It's like the more of a yes person you are, they will pile that stuff on your desk. You know what I mean? They will say, okay, here you go. Now look at this. I asked you to say, remember to say no. Don't be afraid to say N-O, no. For people who are wanting to usurp and disrespect your time, your energy, your life. Because how you spend your time is how you spend your life, okay? Ask your angels. Angels can't intervene unless you ask for their help. Really, really, really important. Not the right time. So this week is not the right time for anything extra or excess or burdensome or it's a time of healing. This week and this moon is very, very healing. You also got family and tribe. And you know, matters of the heart, Venus, when it comes to our heart, when it comes to our heart matters, family and tribe are really, 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 really important. Okay? Home. Venus is connected to the home as well. Okay. Dreams. That's another thing. I had some wild dreams. I had a particular dream that I know was a vision. Talk about that another time, or maybe not, we'll see. But really pay attention to your dreams. There's a lot of the completions, those endings, those things that you're accepting now. You will see them playing out in your dreams. You will actually be meeting you might be meeting an ex on the dreamscape. So the dreamscape is where your soul goes when you go sleep at night. You might be meeting somebody in spirit, like someone who's passed on, a friend or a family member who's in spirit. They might have a message for you. You might have a message for them. It is quite a dreamy, it's a very important week. So your dreams are pivotal at this time. Try and remember them. If you have trouble remembering them, I always say if you remember it, you're supposed to remember it. If you don't, you don't. But there are people who say keep a dream journal. That's up to you. But definitely I got some wild clarifications, information, like psychic information and wisdom in my dreams. And the ones that I remember vividly, they're the most impactful. So be aware of that as well. If you found this information of benefit and if you enjoyed this video, thank you and give me a thumbs up. And again in the comments, I'd love to hear how you're experiencing this cosmic weather, because I do think it's a particularly auspicious time. Sending you all the angel blessings, and as always, I wish you a wonderful week.